Thank you. And a huge thanks to all in this Empowered Women's Network. This is just such an awesome group, and I'm just so proud to be a part of something like this that offers such a positive influence on so many in our community. I also want to say thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all today and to share some personal stories on the topic of appreciation and its impact within my life. Life does not come with a manual, it comes with a mother. Isn't that a great quote? Life does not come with a manual, it comes with a mother. In a room like this, full of women, how many of you are mothers? That's quite a few. How many of you are daughters? Trick question. So as moms and women, I'm sure you may know firsthand the joys of pregnancy and childbirth. And on that related subject, again, show of hands, let's be honest here. How many of you would be willing to give birth over a dozen times? Anyone? Notice my hand's not up either? Well, this is where my story begins and why I am forever grateful. Because I'm the youngest of 14 children. 14! I know, that's a lot. To be honest with you, this is rarely something I share in my professional life, and it's not because I'm embarrassed or ashamed. It is simply to avoid the deer in the headlights look, followed by the multiple questions that always follow. And as I look around the room, I'm seeing the look. But in all seriousness, I share this personal nugget with you today because it's a huge part of my life and why I'm grateful. You see, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for my parents and their decision to take it on, to have this large of a family, and to have this 14th child. But more importantly, I share this with you today to introduce you to a remarkably strong, selfless, and loving woman that has empowered me in her own way throughout my life, and that is Mama Kay. Life does not come with a manual, it comes with a mother. The other big reason I felt compelled to speak to you all today was regarding a life-altering challenge we experienced called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, but is known mostly by the abbreviation of ALS. 5 years ago, in 2014, was the summer that most heard of this rare disease through the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And as you may recall, it was a social media craze where over 17 million people participated, sharing videos of themselves dumping ice water over their heads to raise money and awareness for the disease. For me and my family, we knew of ALS not because of this, but because we were experiencing firsthand the effects of the disease as we watched our mother take it on each and every day that same year. So, what is ALS? It's a degenerative disease of the central nervous system, causing the death of motor neurons, which results eventually in gradual weakness and wasting away of a person's voluntary muscles. Eventually, this will lead to full paralysis. But one thing to know is, with all that's lost, the patient's mind and senses often remain normal. Currently, there is no cure. It's 100% fatal. Average life expectancy is between 2 and 5 years. In the U.S., approximately 20,000 are diagnosed with ALS. Closer to home, that's 350 Minnesotans. Life does not come with a manual, neither does ALS. Everyone's symptoms and journey differs. At first, ALS symptoms can be very subtle. As an example, some patients' first symptoms could be a tingle in their leg or a hand that doesn't work correctly or another form of mobility issue. Mom's symptoms were different and less common. For her, it started in the fall with a slight slur in her speech, which we believe to be stroke-like symptoms. But as we entered into winter, new symptoms were arriving. Mom was having problems swallowing, and she'd cough excessively whenever she'd try to eat or drink. And by February, the doctors were concerned with pneumonia, so a special exam and swallow test were ordered. This resulted in a tough decision to have a feeding tube put in. After the procedure, within a few days, my parents headed back home to the farm to get used to the new normal of the daily routine of a feeding tube and one less plate around the dinner table. By the time Mom was officially diagnosed in April with bulbar onset ALS, she had lost the ability to speak, swallow, eat, and had lost the ability to smile and show other forms of facial expressions. With these limitations, imagine how isolating you would feel. Communication was the first major obstacle as a family we had to overcome to help Mom. Mom always taught us growing up to be creative and to make the most of what we had. So we decided to use social media to our advantage. I created a private Facebook page for my parents and family to use, and this worked great because my family is scattered throughout the United States, and it was just a great way for us to keep in touch and post private messages and share pictures and videos daily. Skype and Caring Bridge website were also helpful tools. But in person, Mom preferred to write. And one helpful thing we used was this boogie board. As you can see, you can write on it, click this button, and it easily erases. It was also a great way for her to interact with the grandkids, drawing pictures or playing a mean game of tic-tac-toe. These communication tools, they did help, but as you can imagine, not being able to convey emotion was still a challenge. But I have to say, overall, Mom's strength through this transition was incredible. So what's the plan? I recall saying this one day while talking to my family about the gradual weakness we were now noticing in her leg strength and mobility late that spring. We all knew the unfortunate outcome we faced, but at what pace? With ALS, not knowing is somewhat of a blessing and a curse. What we did know was that Mom was the most happy and content in life when home and on the farm. So without question or hesitation, we wanted to give her this as an option for as long as possible. Mom had always been selfless and gave so much of her life to us as kids. It was our honor to turn the tables and to be there to care for her, giving her that same love and support. And as ALS symptoms progressed, the ALS Association and hospice were also added to the care package. Part of what the ALS Association does locally is they offer services that include support as well as a temporary loan program of various medical equipment items that may be needed specifically for ALS patients. Example types of walkers, wheelchairs, hospital beds, suction machines, etc. I have so much appreciation for both the ALS Association and hospice's support. But the pillar of support was my father. It was so heartwarming to see my parents bond, how after 50 years of marriage, that unspoken look could come with such ease. And watching my dad, a traditional farmer, take on a new role and responsibility in retirement as a caregiver to Mom with such strength and grace. Through this chapter in care, Mom showed us patience and love as she always had. But she also taught us a new lesson on acceptance. Not only acceptance of the circumstances, but by accepting the love and extra help she now needed. The motto that our family adopted that summer was, "Keep on keeping on." Though there were plenty of tears of sadness and frustration experienced, there was also plenty of fun too. When home as a family, it was just so nice to be home together and make the most of what we had by doing some of the things we've always enjoyed around the farm with our parents. A few examples: Mother's Day, we got Mom up onto the four-wheeler and got her out into the woods to go morel mushroom hunting, which had always been an annual tradition for our family. June meant it was time to plant her vegetable garden. And though her participation with the garden was different now, she had no trouble telling us daily what chores and tasks should be done. My sisters and I would laugh as we each would get a handwritten personal note from Mom when home, reminding us more than once to go pick the beans. Mom wasn't a natural idle person, so when asked, she always opted not to nap and preferred to go outside. So outside we would go. We would push her down the driveway to get the mail or bring her along with us on walks along the gravel road, watching along the ditch sides for monarch caterpillars munching away on the milkweed. Many hours that summer were also spent just sitting under the shade of the oak tree near the garden, watching the birds or the horses graze in the pasture nearby, enjoying the familiar views of the farm, and appreciating the little things. Throughout the summer, week by week, there was change. Changes to Mom's health and new arriving symptoms. Changes in care and adapting daily routines as were needed. Changes to who in the family was flying in or driving over to help Dad care for Mom. Changes to when hospice may be stopping by. With all the changes, there was one consistency throughout, and that was her faith. Each week, the question would be asked, "Mom, do you feel like going to church?" Each week, no matter how she felt, her answer was always yes. And as a caregiver home, this wasn't an easy process. It meant getting up very early in the morning to get ready, to get Mom up, get her fed, medicated, dressed for church, makeup put on, and just about when the lipstick was getting applied, my brother would pull into the parking lot. And we would get Mom into his van and travel down a bumpy 3.5 miles to attend 8:30 Mass at this little local community church. And one thing about this old church was it wasn't handicap accessible. But each week, as we pulled into the parking lot at St. Joseph's, there'd always happen to be a few members that would arrive early and would be standing by the door ready to lend a hand. They would help us pick Mom up in her wheelchair and lift her up a flight of stairs and into that church for Mass. And as a family and daughter, it was so touching and hard to hold back tears, as each Sunday you would see this community support her and give her an extra smile or warm gesture as they'd pass by. Mom never missed a Sunday. I don't believe anyone in the family or community expected what was to come so quickly just 2 days after that final outing to church the last weekend in August. Mom passed fittingly the day after Labor Day, the evening after the first day of school for her grandkids, and at the end of her garden's growing season, at home, surrounded by love. So what I learned through this life chapter, and what my message for you all here today is this: don't let a disease or circumstance define you. What was discovered through this journey and was demonstrated by my mom, but also by my family, from the ALS Association, from hospice's support, from friends, and that small little local community church, is that ALS doesn't just stand for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. ALS doesn't just stand for a horrible disabling disease, sorrow, and loss. What those 3 little letters stand for, as I reflect on this chapter, is something far more powerful. To me, ALS stands for appreciation, love, and support. So ladies, as you leave this luncheon and get back to your busy work schedules and day, I hope that this mom's story empowers and reminds you to appreciate the little things in your own life you may take for granted. And to give back to others may be as simple as a smile. Thank you.